I'm going to attempt to do this without the headphones, so it's a new experience for me, but I hope you're all enjoying Summit. So I think we're all aware of, I'm trying to be funny, I suppose, on this and kind of make light of it, but we're all seeing, that's why we're at the Adobe Summit talking a lot about data, that paradigm shift that everyone's been talking about data being a strategic asset in your business and unlock the power of it, whether that be enterprise data and your clickstream data together. It's here and it's no longer a future need, it's a here and now necessity. And those are some of the things that we're going to talk about now, and also Rob is going to give some great insight into what they've been able to unlock at Sky. So in my head, there are kind of three journeys or three kind of paths that we're taking. The first one is where we were and where I don't think any of us in this room want to be, which is what is still in some verticals called the industry standard, where you've got kind of disparate silos, macro segments that people still think are great, right? You know, oh great, I can target my email to 30,000 experienced designers. Well, yeah, great, but that's still not personal. You know, the definition of personalized has yet to be unlocked in a lot of businesses. That doesn't mean it can't be, and it can't be fast. So I think majority of organizations I'm seeing, especially where Sky was, but has accelerated really fast, is what was called best in class, but I suppose is teetering on the edge of, I know I'm doing some cool stuff. I know I'm now actually able to, you know, untap my CRM data and blend it in some way, shape or form with my digital experience, but it's still kind of one-to-one. The message isn't really clear. My attribution modeling really doesn't do what it says on the tin. It's still at a channel level. So I'm not able to make decisions based on real scientific truth. So where we're at and where we are accelerating the roadmaps of the likes of Sky and other organizations is saying, you don't need to go into a cloud and you don't need to buy a massive stack of things because you already have perfectly good technologies with Adobe. The challenge you've got is taking all of that disparate data that you have that is so valuable in your organization and putting it to work. So we call this the new normal. You'll notice I won't talk at all about future because this stuff is supposed to happen now and is happening now. And that's where most of you will have in some way, shape or form, whether it's you owning it or a colleague, you know, a data science roadmap, a big data strategy. And majority of businesses we speak to already have a data lake. They already have data landed in an environment. That's not the problem. You know, that technology exists. It's easy. It's cheap. GCP, you know, Rob will talk to you about. It's the power of unlocking that and making sense of it so that you can deliver an experience, a decision to a specific channel at a specific point in time that unlocks value. That's where the new normal is as far as we're concerned. But nothing new, I'm sure. I see some of you nodding. You know, I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. So I'll keep this one brief. We all know that no longer is it good enough to represent brands, expect to just go and find customers. Segments of 1,000 were good about a year ago. Now, customers don't want that. You know, prospects expect more. Following demographic trends is one thing, but actually acting on them is near on impossible unless you've actually made that connection between the meaning of that segment in your DMP and then how to execute that across a channel, which may not be digital. Having few and isolated channels, nobody ever talks about content with data, which is a real frustration of mine, and that's what we'll talk about a little bit more with Rob. What's the point of trying to personalize unless you have a taxonomy that clearly links the message, the intent, and the content together? And that's something that is really possible. Those of you who have AAM, there's lots of stuff that we do with the Context Hub, with the platform, which unlocks the power of these little features that have such big value. So the new normal is representing the customer. Voice of customer has been talked about for years, right? But from a data angle, not really been unlocked. Be found, so prediction and predictive analytics, being able to go out to the right audiences without an analyst or a marketer having to make that decision, because we're human, and I'm sure lots of people in this room are very clever. Some will have PhDs, some will have, MSCs and lots of letters after the name, but we're not as clever as computers supporting us. And basically creating continuous connected relationships where content can be delivered in a dynamic way. Now, again, I've come from where you guys have sat. So we're talking about, I've been a data engineer in the past, this is really quite irritating stuff to be told without a solution. And those of you who've seen our stand, we've kind of coined this phrase AI assisted, and I recently joined our company and said, well, what does that mean? As someone who is a potential buyer for this product, stop talking about artificial intelligence and buzzwords and tell me what these things mean. Those of you who are aware, and I'm sure some of you are, the term artificial intelligence, all it is a machine performing tasks characteristic of our intelligence, and hopefully significantly better. They come in two forms, categorized and narrow. Narrow being you can tell Alexa with the Garnier app to select the best hair dye for my hair color, whereas a more generic one would be Alexa, tell me what's happening tomorrow. So that's it as far as I'm concerned. I've got a very simple brain when it comes to these things, otherwise I can't understand things. And all in my head, machine learning is the application of AI with avoiding having to write millions of lines of code and millions of and really complex decision trees that an engineer would have to code themselves. It is that, for me, is what the fundamental of AI assisted in our platform is. These things you can build, everything's buildable. Nobody in this room would ever say, I couldn't build a CMS. It would cost me millions and millions of pounds. I don't know whether I have the team to do it, but we could build anything. Anything's possible. What we're saying is AI assisted takes the things that you could build. Lots of machine learning algorithms exist in GCP and AWS, I'm sure exist in your organization. And essentially, we've created a comprehensive package which sits in your environment to do things like, automate and remove errors from data management routines. Those horrendous clickstream feeds of, data that come from Google 360 or Adobe Analytics, being able to make sense of that and blend it on-premise without having to send all of your CRM data and whatever into a cloud. And our platform, and this is the only sales thing I will do, so you'll be thankful of that, augments your existing architecture. So that's one thing I struggled to get my head around. I said, are you sure you're not a marketing cloud? Are you sure you're not going to promise to deliver a decision and also render that decision and then charge me loads of cash to get my data out, put it back in, and then render the decision? It's all fixed cost. And the platform sits in situ of these platforms. So, you will all have one of these platforms. Whether it's good or whether it's bad or whether you're changing it is another thing entirely. So the system of understanding, orchestration, decision-making, all-important context, and that all-important system of record, which tends to be the point right at the bottom where the sticking point happens. Well, my clickstream data isn't in my environment in a way that I can use it. I won't steal Rob's thunder because he'll show that in action. And essentially, beyond anything else, one of these, some of these, all of these are use cases that you're trying to deliver that you are, in probably a lot of cases, delivering to some extent. All we're saying is we can help you deliver that faster, GDPR ready, because it's in your platform. Never say compliant, because that comes from your side, not ours. We're not a legal team. However, because these applications that sit in our platform are in your full control, it accelerates what you already know you need to do and adds some additional intelligence to it. I won't do any more sales on that. If you want to come and speak to us, we can do a demo. But I know what it feels like to be sitting there sometimes. And this is, I know it says our logo inside, but it's more of an illustration. We all know that a lot of us are creating models. We have churn propensity models. We have, predictive analytics models that may be delivering an email at the right time of day with the right message. However, those don't always pull together the behavioral intent, context, and that all-important user graph that is in that device graph that is in your control, that enables you to orchestrate that, not just in one marketing stack, but in your internal system to a call center agent, and essentially syndicate that across your business, your enterprise, in your control. And that's where I get excited. That's a very odd-looking picture of me looking very angry. I'm a happy person, I swear. This was just for me to illustrate, I won't bore you with why is intent and data critical. I think you all know that, otherwise you wouldn't be here. But the things we know we get wrong, we talk a lot about the data and the model, but we tend to forget, and I was big on this, I always forgot that, oh yeah, there's an image that goes with that, there's a channel that goes with that, but that channel has some copy and it has a time of day, so a temporal view of when should I deliver that and how should I deliver it. Is that person going to be angry or happy when I'm doing that? And that's the behavioral context that our platform adds. We're not rocket scientists and we're not, Mystic Meg. We don't know everything about your customers. That's not what we do. But you know a lot more than you think. And Rob is a great example of where they have unleashed the power that I think was even beyond kind of their wildest dreams in the shortest period of time. They've delivered such value so quickly. And the example I've got before I hand over to Rob is one that's very close to my heart. So I was working with, I'll just say them, so L'Oreal on a voice application. And it's one area where I think AI-assisted and customer analytics is a necessity, not a nice to have. People will go round a badly designed website. They'll navigate away from things. They'll say, well, that's annoying that, I type milk and it doesn't come up with milk. It shows me something random. People are annoyed and the conversion rate might suffer, but they'll get over it. Voice, as we know, doesn't have that benefit. So I love a bit of Radio 4, so probably showing my age. I look a lot younger than I actually am. And the example here is just to illustrate that, I first asked one question in a way that if I asked a human, they would give me a response. But because I've asked it in a slightly different way, the machine doesn't quite get it. And there's loads of measures, there's loads of data that exists within, this is Google's Dialogflow API that we built this in. Reach, engagement, linguistics, so how you say it, what you say, input conversions, and essentially 50% failed. What machine learning and then the application of AI, which in my head is deep learning, this is where you start, and with some blog articles I've written on our website, is where we start to actually make in real time those connections between a fail point, which is what we're talking about here, and then what the true outcome should be, what the positive outcome should be, and continually optimize that. And the reason I use that as an example is this is something that's actually been done, and I even was dubious of whether we could deliver it. But voice is one of those areas that we're all investing in some way, shape or form, but we haven't really nailed our core environments, our core channels. So let's use voice. In my opinion, we should use voice as that test bed because it's an area where that technology, whether you're using Google or whether you're using AWS and Lambda with Amazon, it's already inherently yearning for deep learning and machine learning. You can't really build a decent voice application without that at least being in your thought process. And I won't go through these, you'll be happy to add, but it wouldn't be May if I didn't talk briefly about the areas of GDPR and why we stack up. Long and short of it is, we're in your environment, we take all of your permissions, we take everything that you've already started or hopefully are at the end of constructing in terms of your data permissions, etc., and comply with that and add to it. But the benefit, additional benefit is because we can manage the outputs to your marketing systems, to other external systems, gives you elements of additional control that you may be building in, but maybe aren't as elegant as they could be. A lot of marketing automation tools are saying, we can make you GDPR compliant. Yeah, but you're still a cloud though. So I still would like to have full control of that myself. Enough said about that one, I think. And it's a no-brainer. I've got a friend of mine who works at McKinsey, and they've done a study about companies that use behavioral data. So whether that be clickstream data, or whether that be in-store browsing data that you've been able to link via loyalty card or whatever, if they can link that to add additional context to improve experiences and add that intelligence to those experiences, I was quite astounded at to get them to check it and show it to me again. They have, on average, 85% higher sales growth year on year than those businesses that don't. And those are like-for-like businesses, which was my big challenge when I asked them about it. I said, yeah, but is that like financial services and retail? But no, they are very rigorous, as you'd expect from McKinsey. And then importantly, it makes business sense because it's more profitable. You spend less time, you spend less effort trying to convert people who aren't going to convert, or converting people in the wrong way and then failing 3 times and then winning the 4th time. So that's where machine learning and AI assisted doesn't want to fail multiple times. And GAN theory, which I won't bore you about, but those are interested, I've written an article on our blog around basically the champion challenger of AI, machine learning algorithms, challenging machine learning algorithms, and it's really interesting reading. So, deliver experiences in context, not in isolation. Why not? Why not just start now? And that's where Rob will hopefully get you really excited about it. I know he will. You've all seen him on main stage. It's a little bit of a smaller stage, so I apologise for that, Rob. But I will hand over to Rob.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Anthony. And yeah, it should be fun to talk about things in a little smaller context than before, and we'll definitely get time for plenty of questions as well. So yeah, hopefully we can really get into that. And I'm here for the rest of today and tomorrow as well. So keen to pick up on any conversations. The takeaway that I always give when describing who Sky are, and it's kind of for me as someone who comes from a data and analytics background, why I would consider working for Sky, other than the fact that they're an incredible brand, is the fact that we've got a huge number of customers creating a huge amount of data. And as someone who, for the last 14, 15 years has wrestled with the role of data in the organizations I've worked for, and really I've fundamentally, since, I guess 2006, believed that data is underutilized in the organizations that I've worked in. I just thought, well, surely, at Sky, we've got these millions of customers creating these incredible amounts of rich data. It must be a wonderful opportunity to eventually, in my life, in my career, actually have an impact. So that's kind of the story that I wanted to share with you guys today. And yeah, I'll take you through it. We'll just dig into something which I mentioned on main stage earlier. 71% of our customers use 3 or more channels to interact with us. And that's discounting passive channels like just consuming TV. That's picking up the phone to speak to us, that's going to one of our websites, that's picking up one of our mobile apps, that's interacting through our interactive service through the set-top box. It goes on, and you know what? It's been really, really important for our organization. Sorry, before we go into that, for our organization to really understand what's behind that, because our customers have always sought to interact with us in all of these channels. It's not a new thing. People like me use the word omni-channel as if it was that's a new concept. Literally, Sky's been in existence for nearing 30 years, and our customers have been able to interact with us in multiple channels. I actually think that it's only the case that now organizations are starting to take it seriously as they focus on what data means and what it means to understand a customer. And now we sort of, in the last 3 to 4 years, we've really started to focus on resolving that. So yeah, I'll show it. I guess I'm going to show you this video again. Those of you who saw it earlier today, I didn't realize that. But it's a good one, isn't it? So let's have it again.
It's decision day in the Premier League, and the fans will certainly be feeling the nerves.
A magnificent morning at Lord's for the first day of the series, and already this place fizzes with anticipation.
Can Europe pull off a miracle on the final day at Medina?
And we are ready for the title decider. It's lights out and away we go.
It's going to be finished, and it is finished. That is one of the great Lions test tries.
And Klitschko is somehow trying to survive, but Anthony Joshua topples him again.
Manchester United have done all they can. That Rooney goal was enough for the 3 points. Manchester City are still alive here. Balotelli, Aguero!
So up on main stage, that's a great video to share for a wider audience because it helps you understand more about our organization. It's also just a bit of a sexy video to offset me standing on stage on my own. But the real reason why I would show this to you guys is as sort of the inspiration for why we used the huge amount of data we have about our customers and Google Cloud Platform and Syntasa and Adobe to turn that data into what I think are some of the sexiest product recommendations I've ever seen. So it's that which I'm going to share with you today, is how we turned our raw data into product recommendations, which fundamentally are more emotive and more effective than I've seen before. One of the things which Sean, the CTO of Syntasa, sort of gave to me was the concept of horizontal and vertical scalability. Now, I thought I was pretty modern, having been kind of born into a career where there was where SaaS products were standard. But when at Sky, we were lucky enough to choose to contract with Google for a Google Cloud Platform. It started sort of trying to think, oh, well, that means we're going to be able to do more analysis than we could have in Adobe, or more analysis than we could have done in our on-premise Hadoop. And actually, I really had to untether my expectations of what's actually possible, and the concept that you can do learning at scale and you can do learning retrospectively as well, which we can get into in conversation as well. But it was really quite amazing, and it's really when we tied the horizontal and vertical possibility with our mission, which is simply to turn the data that we have into something which is useful at the points where we have contact with our customers. We realized we needed to create a real-time decisioning layer, okay? And that's kind of the key to going from having vast amounts of beautiful data to actually being able to impact the experience. And just to give you an idea of the types of data that our organization have, so we have what I choose to call Omni-Channel Clickstream. So it's the digital clickstream that we have, and it's increasingly becoming omni-channel. So we have this concept and this belief that our customers have behaviors across digital channels, and we'd also like to pepper that clickstream with the behavior that they're giving in offline channels. So for example, a call to the contact center should be represented in the same data set that we have visits to pages and clicks through our digital estate. Then we have our offline model outputs, our classic CRM data. For us especially, we have our viewing data. If you're a bank, you've got your versions of what the viewing data would be, that would be your financial data, etc. And we have a whole host of second and third party data. Now we've been building that out in the Google Cloud infrastructure, and we've been using Syntasa, which just to riff off something which Anthony mentioned, it sits natively inside Google Cloud. Now, I'm someone who's worked in marketing departments, worked in analytics departments. I haven't always found technology and IT departments to be my best friend. Okay, and I've always tried, and it's always been complicated. One of the key things for my team here has been that our technology organization made a strategic decision to go with Google Cloud Platform. It's great. It's a fantastic decision. Then my team made the decision to use Syntasa, and it is completely non-competitive, and in fact absolutely embraces the concept of private cloud, which our technology organization had made. And that's really important, like culturally, for me in the organization, is that one of the first times ever, I'm not fighting against technology. I'm actually leaning into something they've already brought. And it's as simple as installing the Syntasa application in Google Cloud or AWS or wherever you want. But that was massively important, and it means we both had compliance and a deep amount of interest from our technology organization, which I've had luck for that to have happened in the past occasionally, but I'm sure you guys will share the fact that it's not always a harmonious relationship. And we just had a simple vision for what we wanted to do in going from intelligence to the customer. We basically wanted an API, right? We chose to use Adobe Target specifically as that API. And all that happens is any of our customers arrives at one of our platforms, a website, a mobile app. That platform makes an API request to Target, and it just says, I've got customer X, and they're here. What's the best product recommendation you can give for them right now? And it's returned back. And because Adobe Target has access to the wealth of data which we've built in Google Cloud and with Syntasa, that response is rich and timely. And we'll get into a little bit of what's going on behind the scenes. We created a program to house this and to make this happen. The program is called Decisioning in Digital, and this is really the story of that. It kicked off in August, July, August last year, and we had our first experiences live within August, and we'll look at that in a moment. Like the key points and like deliverables within this program were that we would deliver one-to-one personalization. That does not mean one-to-one content. That means we're going to assess customers on an individual level, not say, oh, this is this customer who's in that segment. That's not the approach. We say, we have this customer, they may have 500 different traits, belong to 600 different segments, and we're going to assess them as an individual. We're going to do that assessment in real time, okay? Really importantly, we see a differentiation between real-time data and real-time decisions. We're super cool on real-time decisions. We actually believe that real-time data has its place in some areas, but is a huge distraction. I've been burnt a few times, and you can try and get me to talk about them. I've tried to forget them, but real-time decisions is super cool. The idea that I might make a decision now where I give you one answer, and then now, if the data underlying is changed in some sort of significant way, the decision is different, that's cool. So that's something we really want to do. Omni-channel, this is not a digital project, and in fact, the previous slide here absolutely should be updated, not to say digital platforms. We're using data from everywhere, and we want to use it everywhere, including the contact center. We're going to leverage machine learning because the scale of what we want to do is beyond what we believe our minds can conceive of. And we're going to harness the concept of device graph. I mentioned that earlier as well, actually. We believe that personalization should be done on a one-to-one level, and it should not have to rely on login or identification. We think the world's better than that. Yeah. So we focused within this program. We focused around 3 key areas, and this is where I kind of would push personalization, the concept of personalization, a bit hard, and say, I don't know how many hours I've wasted talking about what is personalization. Well, for Sky, we want personalization to deliver 3 things: help us sell more products, help us engage our customers more in what they've already got, so we can retain them and keep their loyal custom, and service messaging, so we can start to service them most efficiently. And we wanted to leverage personalization for that. I'll talk to you about product recommendations, though. So for product recommendations, we started off choosing from one of 8 of our products. So this is representative of our product portfolio, and we said, okay, when we see a customer on Sky.com or the My Sky app or SkySports.com, we're going to in real time recommend a customer one of these 8 products. And it was really exciting for us. So we went from delivering no type of smart recommendation at all to doing it in one day. And just like a human story from our team. This is on the 23rd of August when we went live, which was very exciting, as I said, because we started the program in July, and then we were putting something live in August, on August the 23rd. So I came into the office unusually early at 9 o'clock, and And we'd agreed, well, I don't think we'd agreed, but I'd said that I would put this live to about 5 to 10% of our audience, because that felt like a prudent thing to do. I don't know if any of you guys know or read any Seth Godin at all, but he's got this concept of the lizard brain, which is basically the worst version of your business self. And this is exactly where I was. So it's the idea that I only wanted to put it live to 5 to 10% of our audience, because I was a bit worried that I might lose my job over the fact that it might, I don't know, break the website, or I don't know, people might start buying less or something horrendous like that. And we sat down for lunch, a little bit of a celebratory lunch with my team at sort of 1 o'clock. And 2 of them are sat over there, by the way. And I said, isn't it fantastic? You know, let's celebrate. It's great that we're live with this. And bit of a pause, and then the suggestion that we're supposed to be leveraging machine learning, and in order for the machine to have any chance at learning, it needs to have significant amounts of data flowing through it. And perhaps I was completely choking the opportunity that we had. So we went back to our desks and just throttled it up to 100%, and it was pretty exciting. What happens when you deliver this stuff to millions of customers all at the same time? You get to suddenly start differentiating what you want to show to them, and yeah, this is an example which I spoke about earlier in the morning, where we in the instance that we leverage. In the instance that we recommend sports, we're able to then dig through and actually directly use the viewing behavior, the browsing behavior, and like the preference behavior that we have for our customers. And the uplift on something like this is absolutely incredible. If you imagine our organization, traditionally, if we wanted to talk about sports, we would choose a football image, because that's broadly known as what the Sky Sports proposition is. But if you're a deep lover of Formula One, like I am, I don't have space in my life for Formula One and 2 children to also like football. It's just not possible. So generally, people are interested in just 1 or 2 sports. So our ability to be able to flavor and focus our products through leveraging the data that we've always had is super powerful. Just an example of the in-life retention-based messaging, because I'm aware that, you know, we're a lot of people here and not everyone might care about product recommendations. So this is where we want to identify behaviors that our customers have in their existing in the existing products they have with us, and then use their behaviors to encourage them to use those products more, because we know deeply that when a customer is engaged and enjoying our products, they're more likely to continue using them into the future. So great examples here, our box sets proposition. If you've not watched any box sets in 3 months, it's probably a pretty good idea that we try and tell you about the great things you're missing out on. So we start to promote those to you. Or all the way down here, it's quite interesting. If we know that you're in your house, your family are watching kids programs, but you're not using the kids app, which is available to you within your package, then we promote that to them, just engaging them more deeper and deeper in what we're doing. And it's really interesting concept that sort of between our capability, where sort of my team sit, and our business, the sort of conversations that we have, it's quite challenging, where the concept of a real-time decision, where businesses usually love consistency, right? They think, okay, well, if you say something to one person at one moment, please make sure you say the same thing to them later. And if you say it to them in one channel, please make sure you say the same to them in all channels. I think that's bullshit, because honestly, if the data I have now is better than the data I had 5 minutes ago, I should be making a better decision. You know what? If someone's browsing skysports.com, they might be a little bit interested in sports. So I quite like to take that into consideration when I make my decision. Thank you very much. And you know, it's stuff like this, which I just think increases and maximizes our opportunity to have like a serendipitous moment with our customer. Okay, we're not trying to force our customer to buy anything whatsoever. We're simply trying to increase the chance that we show them something they may be interested in. So quite a first for me, and it's worth pointing out that nobody in my team is a data scientist. We might have built up some experience which might, you know, since August last year, which might place us a little bit in that space. But when we kicked off on the 23rd of August, the blue line is the machine learned recommendations, and the green line is our control. pretty awkward for the first 4 or 5 days because the machine learning was worse than the control. And the control was showing the customer nothing whatsoever. So that was pretty bad for the first 5 days. If anyone's ever tried to sell you machine learning and not shown you a graph like this, you should probably be pretty suspicious of them, because the whole idea is the machine doesn't know how to stand up on its own in the beginning, and then it learns to stand up. And it kind of started to stand up on day, 7 or 8, and you have a little bit of interplay here, and it takes off. And you know, the algorithm we're using is a random forest algorithm, which was pursuing thousands and thousands of different different scenarios, and it's quite believable that it would get it wrong thoroughly in the beginning, and then start to find things that it wanted to exploit later on. And I'd just never seen this. In fact, it took for my team to play around and get this into live for us to eventually see actually what machine learning was supposed to look like. So yeah, it was a pretty cool experience for us. Of course, we work for a highly commercial organization, and it's very, very important that we are able to show real incrementality. Okay, it can't just be myself and my team messing about with algorithms. And there are 2 ways we did that. One is focusing on product recommendations, in-life engagement, and service. Okay, so you won't have us doing any form of personalization unless it affects those 3 business objectives. And secondly, we are extremely strict when it comes to controls. Okay, so we run a static control, but actually that's just where we show everyone in that control cell the same thing. We actually think the world, probably not today, but in a few months or a year or so, is going to think that that is really stupid. And actually the new baseline of stupid should be, maybe I should just randomly show a customer something that they haven't already got. So that's why we created what we call random control, and that actually is our baseline. Okay, so I'm not going to show the customer something they haven't got already, but I'm not going to use any smarts. So if we have 8 products, the customer may be eligible for 5, and I'm going to randomly choose one of those 5. Yeah, so that's our baseline. And then we use a rules-based approach, which is like human-based. People who've got this usually like this, people like that, and then we have our machine learning-driven stuff. And really just sort of the main thing to flavor any questions you guys might have or any conversations we might have over the next day or so is the fact that my team are really a overgrown digital analytics team. We haven't hired hotshot data scientists. We haven't been working with a hotshot consultancy that's come in and solved all the problems for us. We just didn't want to waste 1 more year of our life making data which wasn't going to be used. And yeah, that's pretty much what I leave you with.